Scooby Doo on Netflix too now. Yes, Netflix have just announced that they will now be doing a live-action reimagining of Scooby Doo, and it sounds interesting. This is just another one of those franchises that will never die. It's kind of hard to really moan about the amount of times something else has been rebooted when Scooby Doo exists. In the continuing saga of Warner Brothers does not care about its animation IPs anymore, may I remind you that the Scoob sequel was one of the very first casualties, as Netflix now are taking the reins for this one. To be fair, after that leaked Powerpuff Girls trailer from earlier in the year, at least this now is far out of the clutches of the CW. I'm still gunning that they do the classic Scooby Doo 3 with the OG Naughties cast. I think that's at least another interesting story waiting to happen that we haven't seen from the franchise before, you know? What are these characters like post 50? And will they life accurately kill off Scooby Doo or just make him super old? It does not alleviate my worries for this project befalling a similar fate, but they would have to work really hard to make it that bad. From the initial description, it sounds like it might be for a more mature audience, and as we learned from Velma at least, we now know how horribly wrong that can go. Honestly, I'm kinda hoping that this is at least a more family audience affair. There's gonna be some murder in it, sure, but that doesn't mean you have to make it adult exclusive. We don't need to be edgy. Just a lighter touch than Stranger Things, and I could see there being something genuinely interesting to it. This will also be the first ever live-action TV series as opposed to a set of movies. According to Netflix themselves, the premise is as follows. Based on the characters from Hanna-Barbera, the latest show is a modern reimagining of the iconic mystery-solving group of teens and their very special dog. During their final summer at Camp Ruby Spears, old friend Shaggy and Daphne get embroiled in a haunting mystery surrounding a lonely lost Great Dane puppy that may have been a witness to a supernatural murder. Together with the pragmatic and scientific townie Velma and the strange but ever so handsome new kid Freddy, they set out to solve the case that is pulling each of them in to a creepy nightmare that threatens to expose all of their secrets. Okay. Color me intrigued. If Max's Velma wasn't a thing, maybe I would be a little bit less hesitant on this. But that is a definitive example of how wrong a radical reimagining of this franchise can go. As for Netflix themselves, The Last Airbender series doesn't exactly fill me with confidence either. When Netflix gets it right, they hit big. But particularly now that they produce so much content, those big hits are sadly a bit more far and few between. It's literally just the premise, so I don't want to lose hope on it when they haven't even made a thing of it yet, but there are some things that do intrigue me here. One is actually putting Scooby's origin at the center of what will essentially be the first mystery. Actually giving Scooby some agency to the storyline itself, when he's usually just the comic relief. But that does flag one thing. I'm getting the vibe that he's not gonna talk in this one. Unless they're gonna go more all-out comedy than it sounds, I'm thinking that they're gonna lean more towards how Stranger Things deals with humor. It is their golden goose after all. The comedy is absolutely there, whilst not taking away from the weight of the more supernatural elements. I think that is a tone that will suit this franchise well, but it does mean the dog's probably not talking. The fact that Scooby has witnessed a supernatural murder suggests he probably can't verbally communicate. But I think this detail also points to the fact that he still will have more cognitive ability than a normal dog. He's their very special dog, as the premise says. My guess? They'll probably do a Lassie kind of situation, where he points them in the right direction by just gesturing and barking. Which also raises the question, are we doing CGI Scooby again? Or will there be a real dog involved? Or something in the middle with a photorealistic CG Scooby? Again, whichever one they go for depends on the tone here. I think there's gonna be a darker, more sincere edge to this one. So I don't think the Scooby of the 2000s movie necessarily fits here as much as I do want him back. It just goes to show that for a franchise that's been rebooted 100 times, which probably isn't even an exaggeration after all these decades, it's actually a really hard IP to adapt. Particularly for live action. I get that the live action movies may not be the peak of cinema, but but I still contend that they adapted the property incredibly well, particularly in getting that balance of a family movie with some adult jokes. Whatever they're doing, I do think the one sigh of relief is that Scooby will be involved in a big way. The complaint list about Velma is a long one, but Scooby's absence was certainly one of them. I mean, honestly, considering the issues with that series, was it really a bad thing that they deliberately omitted him to preserve the character? Probably one of the few things they did right, really. Regardless, it's good to see a radical reimagining actually planned around the dog, as opposed to making him seem like an obstacle, you know? As for the rest of the cast, am I right that that's quite a new take to have Shaggy and Daphne the ones who start off as friends? Is there some Scooby lore already confirming that I didn't know about? I do think it's good to play around with those dynamics a bit and really find a feasible way that this gang got together in the first place. Whilst at the same time, it is just another damn origin story. Scoob is fairly recent, and that has already tread those trails. But I don't remember a lot of situations with Shaggy and Daphne at all, so I absolutely support them changing it up to show them as friends. The description of scientific towny Velma as well sounds about right, so not many notes there either. That just sounds like classic Velma vibes. Actual classic Velma. The strange but ever so handsome new kid Freddy? That's a choice description. It very much speaks to the more modern portrayal of Fred, which kind of reworked his one-dimensional nature into more of the naivety and dorkiness to his sense of leadership. Even Velma had a bit of that. So yeah, I think we're continuing along that route. Or heck, who knows, if it is full-on real mature, it's going to take on the fan animation of Scooby-Doo's actually being a multiversal demon that reboots the world every time they discover he's horrendous or something. You ever seen that animation short? I wouldn't be surprised if some exec just said, yeah, let's do that. If we're going edgy, if that's what they think the people crave instead of cheesy. I crave cheese, personally, not edge, right now anyway. Still, I think it is time to try something new with it again, particularly as Warner Brothers themselves clearly has no intention. It's particularly sad for the Hanna-Barbera lot, as this has already happened to them once already. Alas, they were all sold to Warner Brothers all those years ago. And now, it's just happening again. I wonder if they'll just Hanna-Barbera again and package off the Looney Tunes with them. It is pretty sad that other companies are picking bits of the Warner Brothers animation back catalog like hermit crabs climbing up against a washed-up carcass. You've got Ketchup Entertainment taking on Looney Tunes, with things looking like Cody vs. Acme being back on, and now Netflix are taking on Scooby Doo. It's sad that the parent company is just so done with it all, but I'm glad that there are at least others stepping up and saying, okay, well, we'll see what we can do with it if you don't want to, you know? I do think the neglect on these iconic IPs will come back to bite Warner Brothers in the butt, but at this point, I kind of just want to see that play out. They deserve it, I say. And sometimes you can tell brilliant original stories with the coating of a known IP. You know, like the cheesy Scooby Doo movie. Kind of refreshingly new. It's not a direct adaptation, you know? There's parts of me saying this will be an absolute disaster, but I nonetheless cheer them on for at least giving it a go. I'll take this over yet another straight-to-DVD WWE crossover movie anyway. I still can't believe they did the same with Surf's Up 2. What a fall from grace that was. Will it be more Stranger Things or more cancelled Powerpuff Girls series? Who knows? Ultimately, it'll probably just be some middling Netflix content that is generally reviewed as fine, but not great, if I had to guess so early on. Kind of around the Riverdale tier of thing. That had a similar concept behind it after all. Oh man, let's not have love triangles going on in the Scooby-Doo gang, please. I can see that just creating a really uncomfortable vibe. I've heard enough of the fan fiction theories around them being a bunch of hippies in the 60s sharing a giant band. But I guess that would be representation for poly relationships? I'll process my take on that whether I see it or not. If this is successful with that first season though, I wouldn't say no to them adapting the Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island storyline across a whole season. Now that would definitely color me interested. Just do each of the 90s movies as live action seasons, you know? Make it happen, Netflix. It's what I crave anyway. Either way, IPs are gonna continue doing their thing. But that's at least my thoughts on the recent Netflix news. For now, my name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Tell me your thoughts or directions you expect this new Scooby-Doo project to go. Does it just leave you disillusioned that IPs will never die? Or do you have hopes that this could be something interesting? Do tell me your thoughts on more. But for now, I shall see you all in a little bit. Bye-bye!